Alright, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you tonight, Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. It is currently just about 8 p.m. my time. It's cold outside, let me tell you. It's a frigid. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way to get this video du jour kicked off. I'm on MeWe. You can follow me there. John Polak is my name. Mr. Mean. I am on PayPal Pay Me if you want to send a donation to the channel. If you're in the United States and you want to use Zelle Pay with your bank, it's usually baked into your online banking application through your smartphone. Please be aware that all donations go back into the channel. What else? I'm on Discord. There's a link on my YouTube page. Feel free to join up and come by and we'll talk about games if there's something you want to talk about, or you want some Mr. Mean advice or opinions and stuff like that. I've played many games, as you can see. Let's see, what else? Oh, we hit 600 subscribers, guys. You guys did it. You guys are awesome. We're at currently 603 subscribers. Now, unfortunately, YouTube doesn't tell you what number the subscribers are, so I don't know who the actual 600th subscriber was, but whoever you are, kudos to you and thank you. We're getting there, guys. We're more than halfway. But we did get, since my last video, which was about 5 days ago, I believe, we've got 2 new subscribers. We got Elliot Benitez and Gary Hollingdale. So super cool to you guys. Thank you so much for subscribing and commenting on the videos and everything. I hope you enjoy the content. If there's anything you guys want to see that's tabletop RPG related, or even vaguely tabletop related, please give me a shout, either on YouTube in the messages or through my Discord, or you can email me at jpolak@gmail.com. I do also want to give a shout out to God, what's her name? Sometimes I hate technology. There we go. P Work War Games. These guys make a 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 17. I'm not quite sure of the exact specs, but it was a successful Kickstarter that they did. They're over across the pond in Europe, and what they make is a foldable terrain. You know, like your terrain maps. And right now, I'm currently running Pathfinder, and so one of my players came across it. I had seen the Kickstarter last year or early this year, and I didn't have the money, or it didn't spark me. I don't know. I don't want to say it didn't spark me, because I'm usually pretty gonzo for maps. It was more likely I didn't have the money because at the beginning of this year my employment status was very rocky. I have an excellent job now. Things are going really well, and I'm very excited to be there and happy to be working again and putting food on the table. But anyway, they make these maps, and it's in a spiral bound book, and it lays flat, and so it's got X amount of pages in it, and maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. If somebody knows, put a link down in the show notes for me. Anyway, I reached out to them and I said, you know, hey, I'm totally interested. I run a small YouTube channel. Gave them a link to my channel, gave them a brief synopsis, and included one of my videos, and said, you know, if you guys would like a review and you have a copy, it can be used. Doesn't need to be in great condition, just enough to give my viewers and myself a gift. You know, I run Pathfinder, I run D&D, I run, you know, Infinity, I run all kinds of tabletop RPGs, and I would love to do a review. Well, they contacted me a couple days later, pretty quick actually, and said, you know, we're really running out of promo copies and everything, but if you'll pay the shipping costs, we'll send you a brand new one. And I was like, Sure, I can easily do that. That saves me a couple bucks, and I get a cool piece of product, and I can view it. And they were like, please just give it a review, give us your honest opinion. So that's coming down the pipeline. I want to let you guys know about it, and as soon as I get it, I will do a review, and we will go from there. I think I'm just gonna go. I think they sent me a link, and I just can go. I'm gonna go on Friday. Hopefully Friday. I may do it sooner if I can remember. That's the key part. Mr. Mean has to remember to go on there and order it, and all I have to do is pay the shipping cost. So that's super cool. So it should only be a couple bucks coming. It's because it's just a book, so it shouldn't be terribly expensive. I think it's coming from Spain. So anyway, that's coming up. Like I said, I apologize. I can't remember the name of the map, and I don't have a link to their site. So hopefully I'll have to go back and look in the email and see if they put a link to their drive-through RPG page or whatever, because I think it's print on demand and then they send it, but they don't have a whole bunch of copies laying around, so they're just gonna send me I don't know. I have to go back, like I said, and reread it. But anyway, super cool. We're gonna talk about this because there are a couple questions and people wanted to know more about this, so we'll get into that for a moment. But before we start that, for those that don't know, I'm a big fan of miniature games. I like games that bridge the gap between tabletop RPGs and miniature games. And let's face it, a lot of miniature gamers, D&D players, Pathfinder players, GURPS, Warhammer, fantasy roleplay, use miniatures of some kind. I'm real big right now on the flat plastic miniatures. And I just backed a Kickstarter for a different type of flat plastics, which are a little bit better quality, and the image art is a little bit better. Arknight stuff is really good. It's made by, I think, 2 guys in their garage. I've done a review of it. You guys can go back and check it out in the archives, and if it's something that interests you, go to arknight.com and check out their stuff. I think they make really cool stuff, and it's very reasonably priced. But this Kickstarter was awesome, and I backed it at a very decent price, and I'm going to get a whole bunch of these plastic miniatures. So I'm very excited because they take up a lot less space. It's even going to come with a binder. I'll do a full review of it once it comes in. I think it's not going to be here until probably closer to summertime next year, but who knows? We'll see. But anyway, if you followed my channel for a while, I'm a big fan of miniature games. Wrath of Kings, Dark Age, Malifaux is one of my all-time favorite miniature games. I just love the way that game plays. And of course, Necromunda. I'm not a huge Games Workshop fan. I have nothing against them. I can't afford them. It's that simple. But I was at my local game store, and Jared, the owner, Level Up Games, saw me oogling over the Necromunda box set, but it's $125 brand new, and I'm like, I ain't got that kind of money. And Jared's like, are you interested in that? I said, yeah. I said, but I don't have that kind of money to drop on that. I got a 2-year-old at home, and and bills, and like everybody else, I can't afford that much. I'd have to save up for it, and there's too many other things I want, so it's just priced out of my range. And he said, well, I got a Christmas copy, and I cracked it open, and I haven't done anything with it. I'll let it go for $40. What? $40 for a $125 box set with all the stuff in it, the cards, the dice, the templates, the miniatures? Yes, I will come in and pick it up on Friday. So I did. Well, that prompted me to realize, those rules are out of date. I need the new rules. So Games Workshop did put out a new rule book, and of course Amazon is a great resource if you don't want to pay full Games Workshop retail price, and you get about 20% off. So I did. I bought the new Necromunda rules. They seem pretty neat. I haven't got a chance to play the game. My local game store, Level Up, is going to be starting a league here real soon, so I'm trying to get those done. Get my miniatures. I got 8 of them put together, and I got 2 more to put together. I'll probably work on that over the holidays, so that after the new year, when the league starts, I'll be ready to go. But here's the core rule book, which I got off of Amazon, and I gotta say, I'm enjoying it from what I've read so far. I'm going to play the Palinites because that's a law enforcement team, and I used to be a police officer, so it's a no-brainer for me. So very excited about it, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about Necromunda. It goes along the lines like Frostgrave or Scrappers or I can't think of the other one. Frostgrave's the main one that comes to mind. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't even see the bookshelf back there. But these are games that cross the divide between, they blur the line between a tabletop game and a role-playing game. And if you're on the fence about miniature games, or you have a need for a creative outlet and you don't know what you want to do, try figure painting, miniature painting. It's relatively inexpensive to get into, and it's very, very relaxing. For me, it's very cathartic, and just putting the miniatures together is half the fun, and then of course painting them is more. Now, I live here in the land of the Great White North, Duluth, Minnesota. I can't spray paint or anything right now. I obviously don't want to do that in my house, and I don't own a spray airbrush, not yet, but I'm going to get one. And I really enjoy painting miniatures, so I picked up the Palanite box set off of Amazon for like $25, I think, or $29, something like that. A little bit cheaper than the normal price, which I believe is $35 to $39, depending on where you buy it. Excuse me. And I gotta say, very happy with the miniatures. They went together really smooth. I've got 2 more, maybe 3 more I think I need to put together, and I'll have a full 10-man force. But what's neat about Necromunda, and what's cool about it, is you start with this warband, or a group of miniatures that is your crew, your warband, and you play games against opponents. And there's no real loser. I mean, there is and there isn't, because both sides are going to gain experience. Both sides are going to get some treasure. Both sides are going to get something out of the adventure, the scenario, 9 out of 10 times. I think there's very few where you walk away empty-handed or with nothing at all, and it's a total rout or whatever. And I think that happens very rarely. I'm sure it's happened because it's a dice mechanic, and the dice sometimes can screw you. But my point is, if you've never tried a miniatures-based game, this is a great way to break in. And now Necromunda does have a pretty high price point, I think, depending on if you're a budget gamer, if you're a family guy or family, mom, you don't have a lot of hobby money to spend. There are cheaper games. Frostgrave is the first one that comes to mind. But Osprey Games has a ton. Scrappers is another really good one. It's kind of a sci-fi game. They're miniature. Frostgrave and Scrappers are both miniature agnostic, meaning you can use any kind of miniatures you want. Hell, if you want to go to your local, I've seen them in like the Salvation Army stores and stuff. I've seen some pre-painted D&D miniatures. You could use those, or you can get some sci-fi army men at the Hobby Lobby. They sell them in a plastic bag. They're dirt cheap. And you could use those, just to get the game down. And then when you decide, okay, I found these cool miniatures, Osprey has a very active forum, and Scrappers and Frostgrave are very well represented in those markets, and you can check those out, and you can find some miniatures. Osprey even works with North Star Miniatures to make the Frostgrave line of miniatures. So there's a million and one options. It's enough to boggle your mind. But like, what my point is that it's miniature agnostic, so you can use whatever miniatures. This is not. They want you to use their miniatures produced by Games Workshop. Like I said, a 10-man miniature box ran me about $30. So it's not terribly expensive, but you do have to put them all together. You do have to, glue them together. So there's going to be some added expense. You need a pair of snips. You need a hobby knife or an X-Acto knife. You need plastic cement glue. You could use super glue, but it's not recommended for plastic. For this type of plastic, because it discolors the plastic, but you could use it. And the plastic cement actually welds the plastic together. But going off on a tangent, as Mr. Mean does, there's 1,001 hobby videos on how to get into this hobby. My point is just to give it a try. If you've never done it and you're curious, go to your local hobby store, go sit down with the Games Workshop guys and just ask them a couple questions. 90% of those guys, or your historical miniature guys, they're all 9 out of 10 times super nice guys, and they're willing to answer your questions, or even the store owner or the employees will answer those questions for you if you're new to the hobby. And I think Frostgrave is probably would be my go-to entry-level game for new players, because it's super easy mechanic. All you need is one die, a d20, and you could even share that between the two players. It is a game that also supports multiplayer. So if you've got, your wife, and maybe a kid or two, and you all want to play, you could. There are rules in there, and the core rulebook's like $17 off of Amazon, so it's really inexpensive to get into. And you could buy some HeroClix miniatures, or you could buy some pre-painted D&D miniatures or Pathfinder miniatures. There's a ton of them on eBay for dirt cheap, and you could have a warband up and running, in a matter of minutes, and be up and playing it, in minutes. And then of course, those games you gain experience, and then your characters level up, and it's a game in a book. It's like an RPG, except you don't have to sit there if you're not real heavy into the RPG side. You don't have to sit there and do the RPG side, but there is a narrative to the story, and you can rule with that. And some people, they just want to put little toy soldiers out there and beat each other up. You can run it that way, or if you want to get into the narrative of the story, you can. So it's a really cool way, and I think I know I've talked to a lot of guys that play like 40K or Necromunda. They've never played a role-playing game because they're intimidated by it, or they don't know anybody. They don't know how to break into it. And it sounds really weird when you say, oh, hobby nerds, or geeks or nerds or whatever, being intimidated and not asking other people. People are people, man, and they're weird. And if they don't know you, they're afraid, to hear these guys, talking about Daka and, Big Shooter and all this. And, it's confusing. They're using terminology that they're not comfortable with. And so it's, but, take that chance, and maybe just ask the store owner or the store employee, hey, those guys over there playing Warhammer, are they pretty cool? I mean, are they, I have questions, and they'll probably take you over there and introduce you to the guys, because most guys that play in the store know the store owners and the managers and the employees, and they hang out, and that kind of thing. So it's I've never in my 30 years of doing this run into a problem in a game store where anybody was like rude or antagonistic to me in any way, shape, or form. Everybody's been, for the most part, super cool and willing to answer questions about the hobby. So I just wanted to get that out there. I've done, I think, 1 or 2 videos on this in the past, but I just felt it was time to reiterate it and bring it out there for some new subscribers, to make people aware that there's more than just Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder. There's a plethora of different games out there and different styles and types of games. So definitely check them out. Frostgrave is super cheap, easy to get into, fast game. You can play a game in under 30 minutes, once you got the rules down, and depending on the scenario, you can get it down real fast. And it's a very supportive game of each other, playing your opponent. It's not a necessary I'm out to kill you and kill all your guys. It's basically you're trying to get the treasure. And like I said, I have a review of Frostgrave back in the archive, so go check it out. So anyway, aside from all of that, I had told everybody that I did get the Eclipse Phase 2nd edition book, and God, what a beautiful book. And I know I've said this about many RPGs, Shattered, several other, Unity, another gorgeous RPG that I did a review of. There's many RPGs out there that are gorgeous, but this one is definitely in the top tier there. It is downright beautiful book, and what I really like about it is, there we go. Jeez, man, sometimes my Brave browser just goes south on me. Like I'm clicking on it and nothing's happening. And I don't know if it's because my processing power is being all chewed up by this OBS, but OBS is a pretty slim system and doesn't take a lot of resources. So I'm curious as to why this happens every so often. And I don't know if maybe it is just the video process is just going nuts. I hope the video comes out okay. I hope it's not stuttering or stopping. I'll know when I upload it. Usually my viewers are super nice to tell me that, hey, the audio, I've had a couple of videos where the audio's gone south a couple of times on me too, and I don't know why it does that. I don't know if there's some sort of feedback or something coming in. I mean, I have a Blue Snowball. It's a really nice mic. It sounds crystal clear normally, so I'm not quite sure, but I don't know why this goes crazy on me. Page unresponsive. Yeah, I don't know why YouTube is doing that. So it's so weird. The whole computer is just super laggy, and I don't know why. Oh, there it goes. It just crashed on me. So there you go. That was, who knows? So we'll see if we can relaunch it. It's being slow. You know what? I'm not even going to fight with it. I've got the info handily on my cell phone, and that's typically how I do it. So I'm just going to go to my YouTube page, and then we'll go to this one. All right, and then we'll go to the comments. There we go. So Leslie Schaefer posted that he'd be anxious to hear what I think about version 2, second edition versus the original. So I'm going to tell you that I never got to play either one. Unfortunately, I've lived in areas where I don't have. I've always lived in these kind of smaller towns like Sulphur, Louisiana, Beaumont, Texas, here in Duluth, which are not major metropolitan areas. So I don't have a whole lot of gamers available to me. I have a core group right now of 4 players, and even they are pretty much, they don't want to play other games. They don't want to jump around and try this game and do that game. They just want to play a campaign, and I get that, but I have all of these games that I want to try. So I did read the rules. It seems to me, from my opinion, that they really, really clarified the rules, like the how to create a character. I know I've seen some other people talk about that they streamlined the character creation, or maybe not so much streamlined it, but they made it easier to understand. They put it in a framework of verbiage that makes it a little easier to digest. And I'm going to kind of agree with that. I read up on making a character, and it made sense to me. There is a lot of stuff coming at you in this game. This is not what I would call a first-time RPG game. If you're a new GM or you're a new player, this is one of those games that I would be very wary about, unless you're, super duper into science, or into hard science and hard science. This may not be the game for you, or if you're not, but you still want to apply it because the premise or the art has really caught your eye, definitely sit down with your players, read through everything very concisely, and have a firm grasp. Hit their forums and make sure you ask the proper questions. If something is iffy or doesn't stand out to you as clear, or if you and your players or your GM are in disagreement on how to interpret a rule, definitely reach out to the forums and make sure you get it. But I would say this is more for a seasoned GM. Players, I think, can kind of get away, because players usually look to the GM to direct them as far as like rules go. At least I know all the players I've ever had, they expect me to know all the rules. So this is definitely one of those games that I would want to read up on very diligently before I dived into it. Of course, like I said in my preview of the book, I backed it on Kickstarter. The art is phenomenal. It's got a glossy cover. It's hardback. It's stitched sewn. It's got 2 ribbons in it for bookmarks. The quality is bar none. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous book. And any book that has a quote from Carl Sagan in it is solid in my page. My wife and I are both huge fans of Carl Sagan. My wife is a scientist, a biological scientist. So yeah, obviously we're both, and I was a science nerd in school. So it's just one of those things. But this book is very, very comprehensive, and it they did their homework before they made this game. And of course, I thought first edition Eclipse Phase was amazing. And they're, I think it's Panoptica or Panoptics. They're one of their first source books. That's how I found it. I saw that book in a used bookstore, and I picked it up and I started reading it, and I literally fell in love with it. And I said, "Oh, I got to know more about this game." And then I found the core rule book. I think I bought it off of eBay. I know I bought it at my game store in Walnut Creek, and I was hooked. I had to get the GM screen, so I have pretty much everything first edition, and then I backed the Kickstarter, so I got all the goodies for second edition. But there's a character sheet in here. You can download it off their website. There's some really nice, and I wish more games did this, but in the back of the book, in the appendices, there are it's a wealth of information that any GM would do well to print out, and keep, or hand out to the players. We have a complete list of mesh actions. That's your physical actions, security actions, admin actions, hacking actions, universal actions, mindware hacking, simuspace user actions, simuspace admin cheat actions, simple hacking, consolidated hacking, a complete list of morphs. For those that don't know, morphs are basically robotic bodies that you can download your consciousness into, and so you can have a morph for heavy lifting, like a labor bot, and then you can have a combat morph, and you can have a transportation morph that's maybe, like some sort of, six leg creature that just runs really fast, or whatever it may be. I mean, the sky's kind of the limit in this game, which is really neat. You got synth morphs, uplift biomorphs, common biomorphs, and pod biomorphs, and of course it has all the statistics and everything that you go in. Then there's rules primer. This is what I always thought was so neat. This is in the very back of the book, the Eclipse Phase second edition rules primer. So it basically tells you ego versus morph. Making tests. It's a D100. It's a percentage-based system. You want to roll below your skill level, your stat and your skill below. And if you roll a 33 or a 66 below, it's a critical and an uber critical. So if you get your stat up high enough and you roll closer to it, so like say you have a 70 in your stat and your skill, and you roll a 66, that's an uber critical. As if you roll a 33, it's just a regular critical, because rolling low is not as good as rolling as close to your high attribute number, or your numbers. The higher you can roll, the better. There's a pose test. There's everything in here. How to use your reputation. Rep is an actual thing in this game. Ow, I keep biting my tongue. Is an actual thing in this game. It talks about initiative and actions and turns, superior results, hacking, and it's just a 2-page little primer. And I think this would be great to just photocopy or print if you have the PDF. I would highly recommend having a PDF copy of this game and keep it on your tablet or your iPad or whatever, and just keep it close by. It would make for easy rules referencing. And then, of course, the character sheet. The character sheet is nothing to write home about, but it is also not bad either. That's your character sheet. There's the front, and then the back of the character sheet as well. So very standard character sheet, and not a lot of graphics on it, but it is laid out very well. You'll probably need a second sheet for more information. Oh, sorry about that. And you can play, with just that basic information, you can play the game and get rolling. But what's cool about it is there is so much depth in each one of those little sections that, you can read it for a couple hours and just dive into it. And of course, the hard science in it and stuff. You can be as granular as you want with this, or you could be as loosey-goosey as you want. I think the mechanics are solid from what I read. I do think that the character creation is laid out extremely well. I don't think you're going to have too part of a time in making a character. And of course, the art is the art in first edition I thought was amazing, because like I said, it's what turned me on to the game. And then the art in this version is just that much higher. So if you're looking for a good sci-fi, hard sci-fi game, this is and don't let the size of this tome, intimidate you, and don't let the mechanics intimidate you. Take your time, dive into it, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and you'll be able to, you and your players or your GM are going to be able to tell some awesome stories. And I mean, you can run everything, I think, from the Expanse to an updated version of Space 1999. I mean, of course, it's got its own world and its own setting in here, which they go quite a bit into. There's an alien race. I don't want to get too much. I don't want to do any spoilers, but there's some sort of alien race, or is it created by us? It's pretty cool, but you'll read up on it, and it's well worth the purchase price, the price of admission. And there's just a lot of things that go bump in the night, but it's not what I would consider a horror game. But I think it can lend itself to, if you want to run aliens, you could totally use this to run aliens. If you wanted to run the Expanse, where you have that mystery and intrigue, you could totally do that. I don't think it would go well for games like Star Wars. I think Star Wars is more science fantasy, and I think leave that to Fantasy Flight. I think they've got that niche pretty well covered. You can get away with that kind of game in like Savage Worlds, but I think this mechanic right here in this world is phenomenal, and I think once you start diving into it and you read it, you're going to fall in love with it. I'll be amazed if you don't, because I know I did. I fell in love with it with first edition, and now I have all of this. I'm still reading it. You can see I've barely scratched the surface. I'm still in character creation. I read it, and then I go back and I catch something, and it catches my eye, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, and then I have to go reference that. But to me, it's not daunting. It's not like, oh, this is so over the top, I can't fathom this. I wouldn't give this to like a 12-year-old, but I would, my game. I have a 12-year-old in my gaming group, and I think he's smart enough that, with a little help from an adult, he could dive right into this and would have fun with it. And I think anybody else would. So I think it's a really good game. I just think it's one of those games that you need to be very prepared for. I don't think it's like D&D, where it's, there's some preconceived notions and we can just pick it up and run. This game doesn't fall into that category. But again, I don't believe it's so daunting that you're not going to be able to play it. So I just wanted to talk about it because some people had some questions, and I think it's worth every penny. I think it is a major upgrade from first edition. I think they've clarified a lot of information. They've clarified a lot of the processes and how you do things, and I think it will make a lot more sense. I think the rules mechanic is very solid. I love percentage-based systems because I love that curve, and I love that ability to succeed no matter what. You may have the crappiest skill in it, but you can still roll. Maybe all said and done, you only have like a 35, but you roll a 33. That's a success, and it's a critical success. So the odds are there for you. And it's just so flexible in everything you can do. You got a combat team that wants to just play kick-ass Space Marines. You could do this with this. If you got a science exploration group of players that they want to just go out and explore the fringe or the edge of known space, they can do it in this. You got some players that want to do corporate espionage and data mining and hacking. They can do it in here. So I hope that answers some of your questions for everybody that might be on the fence. Like I said, I backed this on Kickstarter. I paid for this, so they're not endorsing me to say nice things about this. I think it just deserves it. I think it's a hell of a game, and the designers have been very forthright, and they've answered questions on their forum and on the Kickstarter, and they were very transparent every step of the way for the Kickstarter. So if they do another Kickstarter or they decide to put another game out, I would seriously consider backing it. Whether it was expansions for Eclipse Phase 2nd edition, or if they decided to do a new IP, I would be interested in looking at what they do, and I recommend you do too. in this world of where you get hosed on a lot of Kickstarters, these guys were great. The project was, I think, slightly delayed, but nothing abnormal, and it's, I think, literally 2 guys. I mean, there's a number of people that worked on the book, but it's basically 2 guys working out of a garage. Like I said, they're a small press. I think they have full-time jobs. Rob Boyle and Davidson Cole. I think they're the 2 guys. Rob Boyle did the rules, and the source material was Simon Berman, Rob Boyle, Catherine Cross, Natalie Dean, Jack Graham, Travis Gunnell, Sarah Hood, Mark Hute, Jason Mikhail, Rose Payton, and Evie Smith. Editing was Rob Boyle, Davidson Cole, Jack Graham, and Karen Twelves. So, but yeah, Rob Boyle and the other person are the diehards behind this. So it literally was 2 people, and a bunch of other people did help. No man is an island, as the old saying goes. But man, they knocked it out of the park. I think you're going to enjoy this if you're into sci-fi, if you're into The Expanse, if you're into, Dead Space type of game, or video game like that, and you want to play it in an RPG, you could totally do this. But like I said, it has a really cool world itself. Their structure of the universe and everything, and uplifted animals, and the biomorphs and everything that you can get is amazing. There's a lot of cool stuff in here, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised if you pick this up. So it's by Posthuman Studios. They have a very cool logo, and like I said, I think you'll enjoy this if you pick it up. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea, and if you were on the fence about physically picking up a copy or buying a PDF, hopefully that kind of helps you. And definitely go back and check out my primer video. I showed off some of the art and layout of the book, and guys, I hope you enjoy. And if you have questions about like Frostgrave or Necromunda or Scrappers or anything like that, feel free to shoot me a message, guys. I'm on MeWe, I'm on Discord. You can email me. We'll go from there, guys. I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas. I'm probably not going to get another video out until probably right before Christmas. I might, because I am taking Monday off, so I'll have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, go back to work Thursday, Friday. So I may possibly have enough time to get another video out. I've got a couple things that I would like to go over. I did get the Pathfinder critical hit and critical fumble decks, so I would like to kind of go over those a little bit. They're pretty cool. I looked at them today. Other than that, guys, as the old saying goes, peace, love, and hair grease. And remember, as always, Mr. Mean says to be nice, and everybody have a gorgeous holiday. I hope everybody gets everything they hope for, and I hope you get to spend lots of time with your family and your friends. Life is short. Make the most of it, guys. Peace out.